Leo, something unstoppable is already in motion. Money, destiny, and someone from your past are making their way back to you, no matter the distance. You may not realize it yet, but today's message isn't just a reading, it's a divine appointment. The distance that once separated you from abundance, closure, or even a particular person is dissolving. Whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual space, the universe is already narrowing the gap. And if you're here watching this, it's because your soul is ready to receive. Leo, let me ask you this. Have you been feeling a subtle tug in your spirit? A dream that replays. A name that surfaces out of nowhere. A sudden memory that hits you like a wave and leaves you breathless. These are not coincidences. These are divine signals. You've been walking with an invisible thread tied to something or someone you once had to release. But now, that thread is vibrating again. Something is returning. And it's not just about a person. It's about purpose, power, and provision. Here at Eternal Mindfulness, we don't chase illusions, we decode divine timing. And this moment right here? It is drenched in alignment. What's coming toward you has no regard for distance, delay, or detour. Money that once felt far is being magnetized toward your energy. A voice you thought you'd never hear again may whisper into your timeline. And most importantly, the version of you that once felt incomplete is rising into wholeness. You're not watching this by chance. You were pulled here by frequency. This space, this message, this energite has been waiting for your arrival. As someone who walks between the stars and the soul, I'm here to hold space for what your heart already knows but hasn't yet fully accepted. The wait is over. The gap is closing. What belongs to you is coming not in pieces, but in power. Now, before we step into the full depth of today's cosmic message, I want to offer you something even more sacred than guidance: gratitude. Thank you for showing up today. Your presence here is not only acknowledged, it's celebrated. Every like, every comment, every subscribe is more than just a digital action, it is a spiritual signature. It says, I am ready. I am open. I claim this message as mine. So if your heart is even slightly stirred right now, if your intuition is nodding with quiet yes, I invite you to affirm your alignment. Take a moment and comment below, I am open to receive. I welcome abundance, healing, and reconnection across all time and space. This is not just an affirmation, it's your signature. It activates the energetic doorway for what's meant for you to step forward. Stay with me, Leo. What we're about to uncover will awaken clarity, summon confidence, and quite possibly shift your entire trajectory. The signs are speaking. And today, you are the one they're speaking to. There are moments in life when the veil between the present and the past grows unusually thin. You might not see it with your eyes, but you feel it in your skin, in your breath, in the quiet space between your thoughts. For Leo, this is one of those moments. That feeling of someone brushing across the edge of your memory, of a dream lingering longer than usual, of a song bringing tears you didn't know were waiting to fall is not coincidence. It's cosmic design. The universe is whispering through these subtle signs, calling you to recognize that something, or someone, is circling back. But not to disrupt your peace, instead, to mirror your growth. These signs are not just messages from the outside world, they are soul echoes, reverberating from a connection that once meant something profound. The return doesn't always come as a person knocking on your door. Sometimes it arrives as clarity. Sometimes it is the part of yourself you left behind when a chapter closed too suddenly. The energetic tether never really snapped, it was only stretched thin by time, silence, and survival. But now, that thread is vibrating again because you are ready. And why now? Because healing has occurred, even if you didn't notice. You have cried quietly. You have questioned deeply. You have rebuilt slowly. And in that rebuilding, you've summoned a frequency that now resonates with resolution. As we say in the language of energy, like attracts like. And when a heart is ready to receive what it once couldn't hold, the universe responds not with noise but with whispers. Dreams. Memories. Serendipities. All subtle confirmations that the soul remembers, and the soul forgives. It's easy to dismiss these nudges. Life keeps us busy. The modern world, full of distraction and demands, tempts us to forget what our spirit still aches for. But the sacred is often hidden in the ordinary. That lyric that made your chest tighten, the glance of a stranger that felt strangely familiar, the timing of a message or name reappearing after months or years. These are divine breadcrumbs. Follow them gently. Don't chase, don't fear. Just notice. Your job is to stay open, to stay soft, and to let your inner knowing guide you back not to what was, but to what still is. From an astrological standpoint, Leo carries a solar heart. Ruled by the sun, your sign is the radiant center of the zodiac, a symbol of light, courage, and inner fire. But even the sun sets, even the lion rests. And in your moments of pause, the soul speaks loudest. When these signs arrive, they are not meant to confuse you but to invite you inward. You are not being haunted, you are being honored. The universe recognizes the journey you've walked through silence, and now it is gently turning your gaze back to something you're meant to integrate, not relive. This is where faith meets healing. Not religious faith, but the kind of deep, anchoring trust that tells you, nothing returns unless it's meant to teach, bless, or complete. The return of a soul is never just about the other person. It is about the evolution of you. You are not who you were when the connection first formed. You are wiser, softer, clearer. And because of that, what once felt broken may now feel sacred. You are not being asked to go backward, you are being shown how far you've come. So if the signs are showing up for you, don't rush to interpret them. Simply sit with them. Let them stir your heart. Let them remind you of your capacity to feel, to remember, to hope. That alone is a miracle. And if something is truly meant for you, it won't have to shout. It will arrive like peace, and you'll recognize it not because it's familiar but because your soul will exhale, and finally feel at home again. There are some connections in life that refuse to be silenced by time or distance. They echo not in volume, but in vibration. Leo, when we speak of a soul bond that transcends borders, we're not simply describing romantic nostalgia or faded memories. We're talking about something woven into your energetic fabric. This kind of connection, whether it came through love, loss, or unfinished presence, holds a signature that lingers within you. It's not about what was said or unsaid. It's about what remains unclosed. When Six of Swords appears, it tells the story of movement away from pain, yes, but also of a heart that still turns its head at the sound of something familiar. You have traveled far, emotionally and spiritually, and yet there is still a flicker of not yet. Not regret. Not longing. Just incompletion. The reason you might still feel someone's presence after all this time isn't weakness, it's recognition. Your soul remembers. And because you are ruled by the sun, Leo, your heart is the center of your transformation. You don't let go easily, not because you're stuck, but because you love deeply, and you always wonder if something more could have been made from what was once so real. That wondering is not a flaw, it's part of your wisdom. But what you do with it now defines your direction. The universe is not asking you to reopen wounds, it's inviting you to rewrite the story that never got its final chapter. When you see number sequences like 717 or 999, you're not just seeing digitsiri being tapped on the shoulder by synchronicity. These are codes of completion, transition, and divine endings. They're not warnings, they're gentle confirmations that the old is preparing to fall away. And yet, sometimes, what we thought was old still carries potential to be something new if we're willing to view it through a healed lens. The person this speaks of might be someone who couldn't love you properly before, not because you weren't worthy, but because they weren't ready. Maybe they were still hiding from themselves. Maybe they loved you in silence but lacked the language of vulnerability. Maybe their version of goodbye was not an end but a pause. And now, the energetic tides have shifted. Your frequency has evolved. What you once chased you now attract, and that includes the truth. You are not being haunted by a memory. You're being reminded of a soul lesson. Whether this person returns physically or not is less important than what their energy still awakens in you. What needs to be said? What still wants release? What deserves forgiveness, not for their sake, but for your liberation? Forgiveness is not an eraser. It is a door. It doesn't delete the past, it simply gives the soul a new way forward. If someone reappears, you'll know they're different not by their words, but by their energy. You won't need to convince or explain. What is real now will feel effortless. And if they don't return, your soul will still feel lighter because clarity creates closure, even in silence. You don't need to chase reconciliation. You just need to be open to truth, whatever form it takes. The deeper invitation here is to reclaim your energetic sovereignty. To understand that you can love someone, miss them, even honor them, and still choose yourself. That is the highest form of healing. That is how the light returns to the heart of a Leo, not in noise or drama, but in the quiet, powerful knowing that what's meant for you will always find its way, especially once you've made peace with what had to end. And in that peace, you'll find something far greater than closure. You'll find freedom. When the Ace of Pentacles appears alongside the Sun and the Queen of Pentacles, the message is undeniable. Abundance is not only approaching, it's arriving with purpose. But for Leo, a sign ruled by the Sun and naturally attuned to expansion, attention must now turn inward, not toward whether money will come, but whether your energy field is ready to hold it. Money, in the spiritual realm, is not just a number in an account, it is a vibration, an amplifier, a reflection of your inner belief systems. It flows most freely to the soul that has learned how to receive without fear, give without depletion, and trust without attachment. In recent weeks, you may have noticed subtle shifts, new opportunities flickering at the edge of your awareness, conversations around expansion, or intuitive nudges to revisit long-dormant projects. These are not random. They are confirmations that a gateway is opening for you. It may look like an international deal, a remote job, a digital product suddenly gaining traction, or even a gift sent by someone whose silence once confused you. The form it takes may vary, but the essence is the same. A flow of energy from afar is seeking you out. But the question is not, will it arrive? The question is, can you hold it? This is where true energetic mastery begins. Leo, you are a natural magnet. You shine, you attract, you inspire. But like a golden chalice with a hidden crack, abundance can only stay where the container is whole. That's why the Queen of Pentacles arrives here to teach you how to patch those energetic leaks, old scarcity stories, inherited beliefs about worthiness, emotional wounds where self-sabotage still whispers. If money tends to come and go quickly for you, or if you often find yourself working hard yet never feeling fully safe financially, it's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of deeper healing being called forth. Your relationship with money is deeply emotional, even if you don't always see it that way. Do you feel guilty when you have more than others? Do you shrink when it's time to ask for what you're worth? Do you spend to avoid feeling lack? These are spiritual entry points, sacred mirrors revealing where your light is still entangled with the shadows of survival. Healing them doesn't require you to be perfect, it asks you to be present. Present enough to notice the patterns. Present enough to say, no more. Now is the time to shift from being a receiver of abundance into becoming a steward of it. That's the Queen's message. She doesn't just attract wealth, she anchors it. She nourishes it. She multiplies it with intention and grace. And that power is already within you. But it activates when you no longer chase money from fear, but welcome it with peace. Color frequencies also matter. Olive green is the frequency of renewal and steady growth. Ruby red activates the root chakra, safety, stability, foundation. And gold, of course, is your solar legacy. It amplifies visibility, warmth, and financial radiance. Wearing these colors, surrounding yourself with their energy, or visualizing them in meditation can help stabilize the field you're creating. So ask yourself gently, am I emotionally, spiritually, energetically prepared to hold more? To manage success without guilt? To receive without self-abandonment? This is not about manifesting more, it's about becoming more aligned with what you've already called in. The universe has said yes. The question is, can you live like you've already received it? That is the gateway you're stepping into now, not just prosperity, but the power to keep it, nurture it, and let it serve your purpose on this earth. And that, Leo, is true wealth. The fire that lives inside Leo is unlike any other in the zodiac. It is bright, radiant, untamed, a force that can illuminate the darkest places in others. But like any fire left without purpose, it can begin to burn inward. It can consume rather than create. And this is the quiet warning whispered by the Eight of Cups. It doesn't speak of endings with resentment, but of exits filled with wisdom. There comes a moment in every soul's evolution when staying no longer honors the light within you. When giving more of yourself becomes an act of self-neglect rather than love. And that moment, Leo, may be closer than you think. What the Eight of Cups reveals is a sacred truth. Not all departures are failures. Some are acts of self-respect, of soul preservation. Sometimes, turning away is the most courageous way to turn inward. You may have poured your warmth, your time, your loyalty into someone or something that couldn't fully receive it, not because you weren't enough, but because their vessel wasn't ready. And still, you stayed. Because that's what the Leo heart dosit holds on. It believes. It protects. But even the strongest heart has limits. Even the lion, who rules the jungle, must rest from roaring. What are you still holding on to that no longer reflects your current self? Is there a name, a moment, a promise that replays like a soft echo in your chest, convincing you to wait a little longer? Hope, when rooted in clarity, is powerful. But when built on fantasy or fear, it becomes a trap. It begins to blur the lines between devotion and denial. And the soul, in its infinite wisdom, begins to ache not because of what's missing, but because of what you refuse to release. This moment is an invitation not just to let go of someone, but to reclaim space within yourself. Emotional space. Energetic space. Creative space. Because holding on takes up room. And the truth is, the universe cannot place new blessings in hands that are still clenching old wounds. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means no longer feeding what starves you. It means finally believing that you are worthy of a love that doesn't ask you to shrink, wait, or bleed. In the context of astrology, Leo is ruled by the sun, the planet of identity, vitality, and life force. When your light is compromised by emotional exhaustion, your radiance dims. And no matter how bright you try to appear to others, your soul knows the difference. It knows when the fire has become a flicker. And yet, fire is never lost. It only needs air. Letting go, truly letting go, is how you let the air back in. Ask yourself with kindness, not judgment, who am I without this story? What if the loyalty I've extended to others was finally redirected toward myself? What if my greatest strength isn't how long I can endure, but how gracefully I can release? This is not about bitterness. It's about alignment. And when you are aligned with your own truth, your light becomes unmistakable. Unshakable. Unmistakably yours. You may not receive closure from the one who left without words. You may never get the apology, the explanation, the reunion. But you don't need it to be free. Closure is not something they give you. It's something you choose. And when you choose it, your fire doesn't disappear, it transforms. It becomes the beacon that draws in everything meant for you, everything that reflects your worth instead of questioning it. That, Leo, is the kind of power that cannot be taken, only reclaimed. And it begins now, with the quiet courage to say, I release what no longer serves me, and I make room for what will. There's something profoundly humbling about realizing that you are being watched over not just by strangers or old memories, but by energies that have long been woven into your journey. Leo, this is not about paranoia or romantic projection. It's about the quiet truth that you have been seen even in moments when you felt invisible. Someone, somewhere, has kept you in their field of vision, not always with the courage to step forward, but with a reverence they may never fully express. This is the nature of the Emperor archetype. Strong, composed, yet emotionally withheld. Their presence lingers not because of manipulation, but because their soul is still trying to understand what their heart never learned how to hold. But here's the deeper medicine: just because someone is watching, doesn't mean they're meant to re-enter. Some connections serve their highest purpose through distance. Not everyone who remembers you is worthy of your return. And that doesn't make them wrong, it just means you've outgrown the version of them that once fit the space you've now expanded beyond. You've done the healing, Leo. You've chosen growth. So now, your job is not to chase clarity or closure. Your job is to remain centered in your light. Because true alignment doesn't require performance. It simply asks you to stand where you are, radiate what is true, and trust that those who are meant to witness your evolution will do so without asking you to dim for their comfort. The signs are not subtle anymore. They are multiplying. Repeating numbers like 111, 555, and 717 are not just pretty patterns. They are cosmic nudges, reminders that your energy is shifting and that alignment is near. They whisper of new beginnings, rapid changes, and spiritual upgrades. When you see them, pause. Breathe. Acknowledge that you are on sacred ground, even if your surroundings don't look holy. Life's most divine moments often arrive disguised as ordinary. And it's in those moments, reading a name you haven't heard in years, receiving a message out of nowhere, or feeling your heart ache at a memory you thought you'd healed, that the universe is confirming, yes, you are being guided. And sometimes the guidance is through absence. Through a name that doesn't call, but still echoes. Through a memory that doesn't fade, but softens. Healing is not always about erasing the past, it's about releasing its hold. You were never meant to stay defined by someone else's silence. You are not the unfinished story they couldn't write. You are the author now. And the only chapter that matters is the one you're writing today, with full awareness, full sovereignty, and full permission to shine. The map has changed. The energy around you has shifted. And whether you realize it or not, you've become the axis on which a new reality is spinning. People feel it. Some are drawn to it. Others are intimidated. But that's not your burden to carry. You were never meant to twist yourself into palatable shapes for the sake of being accepted. You were meant to stand tall in your truth, knowing that what is for you cannot pass you by, and what isn't will burn out in the light you've now reclaimed. So if you feel watched, remembered, or sensed by someone from afar, take it not as an invitation to return, but as confirmation that your light has always been unforgettable. The right ones will come forward. The rest will fade. But you, Leo, you will continue. With power. With grace. With the kind of clarity that doesn't beg to be seen, because it already knows it is. Leo, if you've made it this far, I hope you can feel what I've been trying to say in every word, every breath, every moment of stillness between the lines. This message was not just spoken to you, it was sent for you. You didn't stumble upon this video. You were guided here. And now that you're here, I want you to remember one truth above all else. The miracle you've been waiting for is not somewhere out there. It's awakening inside of you. You are not the version of yourself who once begged for answers, chased unfinished stories, or measured your worth through someone else's silence. You've grown. Quietly, fiercely, beautifully. And that growth is what will now allow money to find you, love to embrace you, and closure to settle where chaos once lived. The past doesn't need to be perfect to have meaning. The future doesn't need to be clear to be worth stepping into. What matters is that you choose today, right now, to believe that something better is not just possible, but already making its way to you. So let me ask you, gently but firmly, what are you ready to receive now that you've released what no longer fits? What version of your life are you ready to create now that you're no longer living on autopilot? What would shift if you stopped waiting for permission, and started walking in full ownership of who you've become. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase a sign. You are the sign. The moment you declare your readiness to receive, not just in words, but in the way you carry yourself, care for yourself, and commit to yourself, the entire universe begins to rearrange in your favor. But it starts with a choice. Your choice. So pause here with me. Breathe in deeply. And ask yourself, truly, not what you want, but what you're finally willing to allow. Can you allow abundance to stay? Can you allow love to find you without losing yourself again? Can you allow your light to be seen without shrinking? Because Leo, your light was never meant to be a flicker, it was meant to be a flame that guides others home. And if this message touched something deep inside you, if it felt like a truth you've been trying to put into words but didn't know how, then I invite you to take one simple, powerful action right now. Comment below and affirm it with your energy. Write, I'm ready to receive everything that's meant for me. Or, I release the old stories. I step fully into the life I'm creating. Or simply, I am the light. I am the miracle. I am Leo. And from the deepest place in my heart, thank you for being here with me. For watching, for listening, for trusting. Every like, every comment, every subscription is not just support for this channel, it's a part of the energetic circle we're building together here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence makes this space sacred. Your belief gives it life. So keep coming back. Because every time you do, you're not just watching a video. You're answering a call, stepping into a higher version of yourself, and reminding your soul that it was never lost, it was always on its way home.